I'm that girl who wants to remind you all we are all one. Yay, we're all one. We're all fractions of source experiencing independently these fun, fantastic 3D lives. Yay! Welcome back, my friends. And it's extraordinary times, and it's amazing what the difference of a day can bring to many of us. And as I was very fortunate once again to have my own private session where I just ask lots of personal questions, just for the shits and giggles of it. Why not? And it's always interesting what revelations say, is that the right word? Anyway, whatever they reveal to us is always intriguing and inspiring and really helpful. And there was so much to it. Well, we kept private, but one of the fascinating things that I can share with you is I had a fall quite a few years ago, and they didn't want me to break my arm, and so they quickly fixed it. And they sort of said, "Oh, wasn't the best kind of support job for it because the bone was so badly broken." But they didn't want me to have the experience of a broken arm for various other reasons. And so it was really interesting because when I was having the body scan, I could notice that they were working on the arm, and I was sort of thinking, well, what's that going on there? Because even though I don't allow my consciousness or my ego to interfere in the sessions, I'm still having part of a conversation with them while the practitioner is also doing her best to herd them along, so we can get more of the answers, more of the questions done, because they love to ramble on, don't they? And that's fantastic, and it's really beneficial, and it helps so much. And so it was really interesting to think, gosh, I had forgotten even that accident until I was questioning, like, when? What are you even talking about, broken arm? With much love that I had while I was deeply relaxed, enjoying all of the spa treatments that they were providing for me. So it was really fascinating to think, gosh, while we love our free will and love these experiences, they do really look after us well. And they know what is the best for us. And it's incredible. And sometimes when we're living through things, we think, this isn't the best for me. Where the heck are you? And they say, this is absolutely indeed a best lesson for you and a best experience for you to have that, even though during it doesn't feel that fantastic, right? So there's that. There was so much other stuff that I wanted to share with me, and that was fantastic. But what I can share with you is, because we're all one, because we're all the same, because we're all 3D in meat suits right now, there is no one above us, and there's certainly no one below us. We're all equal. We're all one. And so they were saying to the practitioner who was asking, why are these people still focusing on influences that haven't done much of their own inner work and still spouting off a lot of disinformation? Is that really harming humanity? Those are really good, valid questions that lots of us who are concerned for humanity and where it's been misguided, we often ask these questions. So what they were sort of saying is that many people listen to big influencers with big followings, and they disempowered themselves over this position over this person who is in an assumed position. And it can be for anything, not just spirituality and these kind of contents. It can be anything. And so the advice that the subconscious was telling the practitioner was to be able to understand that people are really curious and can't understand why they're not getting these influences. And they are sort of saying, if the people could just understand how behind and how lack of inner work that these influencers have actually done, then you will be able to understand this influencer is not miles ahead of you spiritually in evolution, for example, for those spiritual influencers, they're actually really behind. And your teams are basically saying to those people who are disempowering themselves over influences that if you could just understand you're still all human, you're still all people together having these experiences. And if you're not seeing, or if you're seeing lots of inner work from that influences spewing out everywhere, that's really giving you a big clue of where they're at. And while you're not judging them, you're just observing them, understand that in spirituality, if you've got lots of inner work still in your closet, you're not able to really get up into the higher frequencies and be able to channel the truer high dimensions, because your density doesn't allow you to. And so it's not like picking favorites or anything like that. It's literally because of the lack of inner work. And so if you're holding on to a lot of density, and if you're not actually processing the, your journey in the 3D, you can't sort of jump ahead. You may a little bit, but, you're not going to be getting where you're assuming. And then that's when a lot of people jump into their egos and think that they're channeling, and when it really is just channeling their egos, and they don't actually know the difference. And so this is why I really like these quantum sessions, because the consciousness and the egos put to a firm side. And so you're not just getting opinion thought pieces from the clients, you're actually getting higher dimensional beings that are actually real with all of their opinions, that they may not have physical bodies, but their consciousnesses know what they're talking about, that's for sure. So anyway, so they're sort of wanting people to, so the practitioner asked, can people get epiphanies to be able to sort of see these influences kind of stumbling on their own inner work, just to be able to help you see where they're at? Because if you think someone's super advanced and super wise and all this sort of stuff, and you're not resonating with your information, it's not because you're a dum-dum, it's because you've already overshot them. And so you're sort of, trying to figure out why you're trying to, some of you have disempowered yourselves and trying to keep yourselves small to kind of fit along with the influencers. So stepping stones, it's experiences, but it seemed like what they were trying to say was, for those people who are going to have these epiphanies about some of the influences actually not being as sort of connected or as advanced as we would all love for them to be, this is going to really empower you. Superly, it's going to super empower you to understand where you actually are, because I think lots of us try to compare, like, are we on the right track? Where are we compared to other people? I don't think we should be comparing ourselves to other people, because first of all, we don't know each other's collectives. That's a big one. And we don't know each other's life contracts, and we don't know each other's backlog of inner work just sitting there waiting. So there's lots of things to think about. So it seems that the teams are really wanting us to focus on ourselves deeply now and really empower ourselves where we haven't. And it seems like many of you have listened to other influences and have this belief system that you've got to do a 7,500 year fasting and never swear, and all of these really challenging situations to be able to get to where the level that they're at in. And it kind of makes you feel like it's not possible for you to even be able to connect in with your teams, because you can't do what works for them. And what works for me and what works for you may be completely different, and everyone else in between. So, some people, bless them, the runners, you know who you are, they can meditate really well while sweating and puffing and beating the pavement with their feet. And so that's fantastic, and it's a great choice for them. Haven't done a running joke in ages. Anyway, so those people love the rhythm, and to be able to sort of keep busy with, so they feel like they're actively being able to do something, so then they're allowed to relax their minds. And so those active relaxers, they're fantastic. I was going to say a joke and say they're a menace to society running freely around the place. But they're not, they're fantastic. So just because someone likes to sit on top of a hill, shave their heads, and be able to wear a nappy. Okay, yeah, they're going crazy, silly now. Yeah, we may not need to be Buddha-like-esque in our approach to connecting to our teams. So we can literally be on the loo, in the shower, anywhere, and just be able to go within and just feel, because it's all about feelings and senses, isn't it? It's not seeing our teams, it's not hearing our teams. I mean, yes, there is a few that can do that, and that's fantastic and lucky for them. But remember, we're not comparing ourselves to others. We're just honoring how we do it for us. And it may be just small stepping stones at the beginning. And so they're constantly saying, use your free will, ask for anything. That's saying very firmly to you all. And they're just saying, she's just the messenger. So they're just saying that I'm just the messenger of their messages. And so when you disrespect me, you're actually disrespecting their information. Because I don't actually try to project my own agenda and ego and bullshit onto you guys. I actually really work really hard to try and remove all of my own blocks and baggages to be able to be of service. And especially, I really committed to doing that as soon as I started doing these sessions, when I heard very strongly Dolores saying that the practitioners can impact the client's sessions from their lack of inner work. And I was like, yes, ma'am, I'm going to fully rip that off and address that as soon as possible. And so I did not want to impact my clients in any which way, especially when I knew that they would be coming in with lots of physical problems and lots of emotional problems. And I did not want to hinder that at all. Actually, it kind of motivated me, because I was so terrified to, you know, what if the subconscious was like, oh, would love to tell you, but your practitioner is an asshole tool and has got so much baggage, we can't even get to share the best wisdom and healing for you because of your silly practitioner. See, I had lots of fear and lots of bad self-talk. And that's definitely who I was. So, you know, that was a fear of mine. And so while I had that worry and concern, you know, I quickly grew with this work. You can't do this work and not grow because, you know, I mean, of course you could, it's a choice, it's a foolish one, but yeah, I really took that quite seriously, because I know how hard life can be, and there's no way I wanted to impact people who entrusted me to do a job and a service for them. I sort of do everything quite intensively, and I don't do anything half-assed, because I feel like that's a disservice to me and a disservice to others. And I'm so sick of getting half effort service, half this, half that. You know, either we do a job properly or we don't do it at all. Why muck around in the in-betweens? Anyway, well, that is my projection. Just projected my own judgment on to you about that. But do you understand? Like, we've all known how lackluster it is doing half-effort jobs just to get it done, just that laundry, you know? Okay, sorry. So there's that. They've sort of said that in history, lots of their messengers have been destroyed emotionally by judgment and by hecklers and critics. And it really bothers them, because they want to get their messages out desperately, because so many people are not listening to them directly. And so if you have to have a go-between, a messenger person to hear their information, they want them to be respected, because, you know, apart from my silly jokes and stuff, you know that the information that I share when I'm channeling is obviously very much them, and those sessions are very much them. And I'm trying to mansplain the information from sessions in these little videos. So yeah, it was really interesting to hear what they had to say. It was another thing which was new, which I can share. It's about free will. Now we know that there is no, this planet has been tampered with previously, right? So a lot of other beings would come and pick up a whole lot of specimens, just for, you know, shits and giggles, to kind of, you know, see what makes them tick and stuff. And so you can just imagine lots of explorers around the universe stopping in, grabbing a few things from Earth and, you know, going on your merry way. And so sometimes when that was happening, it was really sort of brutal and quite traumatic for those beings, being uplifted and then interfered with and tampered with. And so it kind of got really out of hand, and the guardians of the planet sort of, you know, the committee of all of the beings here sort of was like, this is nonsense. This is, you know, a menace now. We're not just this, you know, this is a school here. We've got to experience the 3D. We don't want all this interference. And so there was this kind of, this new law on this planet, which was no interference. And so it was to protect humanity's experiences, to have no interference. So while they'd love to help us, it's kind of too much of a helicoptering experience when we're getting too much help. And also lots of egos got in the way, and it kind of, yeah, the help wasn't very helpful. And so they decided that they would make a blanket ruling that there was going to be no interference whatsoever. And so, you know, let the chips fall as they may. And as we know, that was an interesting choice, and probably, you know, it's a good one. But what has come from that is that there was then, because there was no interference and we couldn't be protected from all the other agendas, the darker agenda kind of has exploded into success, right? It's got away with a lot of stuff, a lot of bad behavior, and people have been coerced and feeling like it's normal to support this, these other agendas. And so now everyone's starting to awaken up to all of that. So we sort of, you know, we know all of that. But now something that was quite interesting is that they said, the collectives have now agreed unanimously. You know the word I was trying to say, add it in there. So they all are in agreement that they now have license to breach our free will and to interfere. And that I was like, whoa, that's a big one. And of course, they're not cowboys and they're not reckless, and they still want to honor our life contracts. But for those people who are rigid in their growth and refusing to step up, I think it's kind of like the next level of epiphanies for people. And so they are allowed, the teams now are allowed to interfere and to be able to, for the embedment of humanity. Now, does that going to look like, you know, massive evasions, or they're going to expose themselves to us and all that stuff? No, absolutely not. So how will they be able to, I think I just said it's going to breach our free will. It's not going to breach our free will. We can still do stuff, you know, and they will heavily guide us if we need to. There's still more that they want to say about that. So I'm just going to feel into what they want to say. Yes. We are here. And so what we're wanting to clarify through that appalling mansplain was that we now have more capability and more range to prompt people, shake them more. You are aware of what you labeled the Nana Gang. And so those are souls that are penetrating the consciousness of certain people who are still in the 3D to awaken to their moral compasses. And so this is going to be more of that. So while you will not physically see us, because we are in a higher dimension and we do not want to physically come down to your level, with much kindness and love, we will project stronger thoughts and be able to, what you could consider, invade people's consciousnesses to firmly tell them to remember who they are, to check their moral compass. And so it's strange, and we can't say all of the ranges and all of the positions of people who are doing this too. It's not for all, but it will be for some to activate them profoundly. we know that some important beings are still refusing to step up into their roles. And so we are going to give them more than an epiphany. We're going to give them a directive. So a firmer conversation. It's going to be in their, when they come awakened, they will hear a firm voice. They will think it may be a dream, but they know they're not sleeping. And so they can't see where that sound has come from. We may choose to make it sound like it is a father figure or even a grandfather figure that they feel that they remember and know. So it's going to be familiar sounds to them. It's going to come from a feeling of a loving, supportive voice, but the message will be very firm because we are needing more responsibilities to be stepped up to now. And we will firmly tell people stronger their approach to certain things needs to be turned around. So we're going to give them, it's more of a profound epiphany, but it's going to be a much bigger impact rather than just a gentle nudge. And so this is interference to some degree, but it is not breaching. It's not breaching people's free will, but it is snapping them out of different choices. So we know that we are not still able to articulate this because there is actually still so much more that needs to be said. But for those people listening to these videos, they are already on a path of various degrees of awakening and being able to step up into their roles. And while some of them, it's too painful to look at their inner work, they are still wanting to find their inner peace. And some of them feel like once they get that inner peace, then they can do their inner work. And we're saying you must do your inner work to achieve the inner peace. And so when you're sitting on density, your unpacked inner work, you cannot get to inner peace stage or level. So we just wanted to remind you of that. The journey is stepping stones, and you can't jump ahead. Unfortunately, you have to take each stepping stone that is closest one to you and achieve and go in an orderly fashion. And we want to say that you're crossing a river and there is 1,000 rocks that are within the stream, and you are jumping from one stepping stone to another. You cannot overreach for ahead of you. And when you try, you will slip and fall into the water. And we say the analogy of the water is the emotional paddling pool that sometimes you drown yourselves in. And so take small steps, because you will get there much faster than trying to do shortcuts and jump ahead. And we know many who have tried to jump ahead and it doesn't work out well for them. And so it is exciting times as we are working diligently behind the scenes to make sure that many are able to get a stronger awakening signals and messages and notice these bigger epiphanies. So lots of soul families here now are desperately trying to reach out in desperation to be able to trigger and activate and remind those souls why you are here, why you are here. And while you are here, be proud of yourselves, acknowledge and see each individual as a beautiful soul having a challenging experience, just as though you have been having a challenging experience. So have compassion and love for each other, and remember that when the veil is removed and you remember who those souls are, each individual soul deserves respect, equal respect, There is no hierarchy in true soul essence form. So drop your assumptions, drop your belief systems that people are better than you. Stop being threatened by those people you feel are better than you, because you're projecting negativity that is then just bouncing back into you, and it is lowering your vibration. In fact, you are then creating yourself to be lower. And you don't want to be lower in vibration. You don't want to hold density, because it no longer serves you. And it chokes up this vehicle, because she can't understand why people don't see how special and unique and important they are. And all they want to do is just send hatred and jealousy and be judgmental and disempower others and themselves. It's no longer time to do that to each other. Love each other. And we say this with much love. Yeah, guys, love each other. Please, for the love of sweet baby Jesus, love each other. Even those prickly cactuses, right? But we don't have to be best friends with those prickly cactuses. I know some of you have emailed me saying your husband's the prickly cactus. It's never the wives, is it? Okay, there could be some wives out there. I'm not going to start a gender war. Okay. So yeah, it's really interesting how they're able to just support us so much more, and things are changing and they're getting more access to different ways to awaken people. And so doesn't that make you then feel a little bit more relaxed, knowing that you don't have to shake people awake anymore? You can just love them, love them, love them. It's so easy to love people, isn't it? And it's actually quite a lot of effort to be a troll, and quite a lot of effort to be that cactus. It's high maintenance. They say that cactuses, sustain themselves, but, from our perspective, they are what is the most precious high maintenance plant out there. I'll think about it. Anyway, I feel like that's enough for you today to ponder and think about, and bring yourselves and your expectations and your respect of yourselves up. If you still think that there are people better than you, come on, stop that. It doesn't serve you. We're all fantastic. We're all the same. We're all one. So how could one person be better or worse than the others? Well, I guess if you're going to judge that, that's what they sort of said, isn't it? The density, I know we're in 3D and we can play in that emotional pool and just be all densed out and all that sort of stuff. But God, it's so draining. So, but it's still, even then, I don't think that they judge super dense, prickly cactuses. They say it and see it as, well, that's their choices. Doesn't really impact and affect us. We wish that they had better choices to help themselves and others. But, it is what it is. It's their soul's choices, and that soul has to live with those consequences, those experiences and lessons. So they're still not judging us. I don't feel like they ever judge us. They have deep, 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 deep compassion for us. But they're also getting a little bit sick of us. They actually said they're quite dismayed quite a few times. And I actually had to Google to see what that meaning was, because they keep saying a lot of that yesterday. They're like, we're not disappointed, we're just in dismay. And so I was like, oh, what does that mean? To really kind of understand their level of, not frustration, but their perception on this, because it is taking its sweet freaking time, isn't it? And so I think they're just realizing they've provided so much triggers, so much epiphanies, so much other things around them to notice, that now, they're sort of like, well, what's next? What else can we do to really shake up the consciousnesses for the grand awakening? So fascinating times, that's for sure. I do love you, and I do love and appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing to help humanity at this profound time. It is a lot of work, that's absolutely for sure. But we need to stop worrying. We trust all is well. And if all we do every day now until the shifts is just love, 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 and just send love out, love out, love out. It's kind of like what they were saying for those people who are sending out like jealousy and threatenedness and frustration and bitterness and all that sort of dense stuff. It kind of, because they feel it, they just radiate it out and it actually comes back to them. And it kind of like they feed into that density, which is not, it's a bit yuck. And so the same could be said for those who just shine and just send love and compassion and respect to others, because when you are feeling that and you're radiating out that, that just feels fantastic. And you just create this higher frequency bubble around you. And then you just have, it's just joy. That's just how fantastic it is. And we can't always be in that space when 3D is trying to distract us and grab our attentions. But when we can do that, and it's a practice, we've got to get used to it, stop that negative self-talk and judgment and all that sort of stuff that we are so trained to do. Belittle ourselves is like a hobby, isn't it? It's an old hobby that we have grown out of now. We've matured. So it's fantastic. So I want to keep empowering you guys to realize how simple it is to get to the inner peace and just spread love. Let's be more contagious than a virus right now. Love is key, and love always wins. And my love for you is profoundly genuine and real. And I just want to squeeze you and just tell you that everything is going to be well. All is well. All is well. It has to be well.